Well, what is it? Welcome to the very first Dark Souls 1 build showcase video. And this may offend many of you, but I went balls deep and I made a twink. A filthy, filthy twink. You may have seen my previous video where I gave a little sneak peek at this guy. As we've all probably realised by now, twinks have been nerfed to shit in this version of the game. With the addition of the weapon matchmaking system, no longer will you be able to have a plus 15 pyro glove with Firestorm at the Undead Burg in order to wreck fools. So that's right out, and that wouldn't have been fun anyway. So this is a twink in the same vein of Dark Souls 3 twink. So I've sort of... Honestly, all the gear I'm using is... Let me show you what I'm running. None of the gear I'm using is late game. Absolutely none of it. All of this is available before the end of the first act. So I'm using the Crystal Greatsword that you get from Donald of Zena in the what do you call it, the sewers. So this weapon has very low durability, and once it's broken, it can't be fixed, and you can't restore its durability at the bonfire. But because they're unlimited supply from Donald, you can buy them for 6,000 souls. Sorry, you just stock up on loads of great swords, and honestly, the 60 durability that it has, I had 99 cracked red eye orbs, and I used all of them, and I got through about 1.5 great swords in that time. So the durability is not an issue whatsoever. It's got a good attack rating. I've got a strength of 16. Originally, I wanted this build to use the crystal halberd. I was thinking, yeah, that'll be a good twink weapon. That's got really good damage and stuff. But then I realised, oh wait, no, you have to increase your weapon to plus 10 and then ascend it to crystal. So that would effectively lock me out of all invasions in the Burg and in the parish. So that was right out. So I thought the next best thing would be the actual Crystal Greatsword, the Crystal Greatsword. And I set up the Crystal Greatsword because I love greatswords, and it's got that really high damage. So I'm getting 255 AR, which is really good at this level if you want to twink at the Burg and in the parish. And if you've got the Hornet ring on, you will pretty much one-shot most people. However, having the Hornet ring on in this situation is not always advisable, as we will. Let me see. So, yeah, Crystal Greatsword, two-handing that always because I don't have the strength to one-hand it. Got the Grass Crest Shield as a backpack. Honestly, you could get away without this if you were popping Green Blossoms, and then you use the extra weight to stack on extra poise, because this build is essentially a poise stack build. You see, I'm running 61 poise at the moment, which is really good with the Wolf Ring. Ooh, that's wrong. I should have steel leggings. Right, no, I'm at 75 poise with my actual with the correct leggings on. Yeah, so I've got Hollow Warrior Helm, Boulder Armor, Eastern Gauntlets, steel leggings. I did upgrade all of my armor to max. I was a dirty save scummer and save scum chunks and slabs, so I can upgrade my armor. It doesn't affect matchmaking. It just increases your durability. It's not like Dark Souls 3 where armor is basically a placebo and you're just in it for faction souls. Armor actually means something in this game, and having upgraded armor means that you will survive ganks a lot easier than if you didn't have upgraded armor. I've done it with both upgraded and upgraded, and yeah, your survivability goes way out when you fully upgrade it. It's great. So for the rings, I've got Havels permanently on, which keeps us at mid-roll. The point of this build was to stack poise, and without the Havel ring, I couldn't stack enough poise and still mid-roll. I was always going into fat roll territory. I've got the Wolf ring, which you can swap out to Hornet ring, and you bust out the Hornet ring if you check out what weapons your opponents are using, and if you're willing to sacrifice the poise, because it's 40 poise you're sacrificing, then you can pretty much one-shot phantoms with a backstab, which is good shit. So yeah, this isn't even a fully optimized build, to be honest. This isn't min-maxed at all. This is just the equipment I've bothered to pick up at the moment. I mean, I picked up these steel leggings just before I finished making the build from the Baron Knight in the chapel. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one. I'll give that a go. So I imagine if I'd had all the armor sets at my disposal, I'd be able to min-max this character a lot better and stack on a lot more poise. So yeah, I'll showcase to you some of the invasions and some of the strength and weaknesses of this build, because although this build is quite powerful and is very good early invader build, it has its weaknesses, and we will demonstrate that to you now. So let's go invade, people. Right. So I did a bunch of, like I said, I had 99 crack relay orbs, and I've used them all. Now I'm down to 0, so I'm going to need to get myself some more. I did a bunch of invasions in the Burg and a bunch down in the parish as well. I think I prefer the parish over the Burg. It seemed, I mean, I know there's more than one spawn point for the Burg, but 99, sort of 9 times out of 10, it would always spawn me right by the boss fog, and it was really frustrating because even if the host was right sort of down near the bonfire, it would still spawn me up here, which was really frustrating. And you'd get a lot of people just walking through the fog door, unfortunately. I know that it's a lot easier to punish walking through the fog door now, but just sort of as soon as you spawn in, it's Host of Embers began critical battle. Not Host of Embers, sorry. You know what I mean. Host begun critical battle. Right, so the main idea behind this build and why it's so good at low level is basically poise. All the weapons that most people are going to be using at this level will not be enough to break you out of your poise. I had a look up at some of the poise breakpoints. I'm 1 point shy, which I could probably min-max up to, from being able to poise through two-handed R1s from an ultra greatsword, which would be absolutely amazing. You see, people wanted passive poise back, and poise chugging is a thing. People, you just fucking chug in their face, and they can do absolutely fuck all about it. So yeah, poise. Yeah, everything apart from as this build stands at the moment, the only thing that can knock me out of attacking is ultra great swords and ultra great hammers. But at the Burg and the parish, you're only going to see once in a blue moon. Like if the guy's got password summons, then you'll see it obviously. But for regular hosts and phantoms, you won't see that at all. So another weakness of this, well, another strength throw of this build is the damage. This probably isn't the strongest weapon you'll get at this point. You could probably find another one that could do even more damage for just as little amount of stat investment. I mean, I decided to stay at Soul level 10 just to increase my potential invasion pool. I didn't want to. You could probably put a few more points in, because sort of by the time people get to the Burg, they might have leveled up with the souls they got from the Asylum Demon. But yeah, I stuck with Soul level 10, so to increase the pool, even if it puts me at somewhat of a disadvantage. Yeah, because you see a lot of people use the with the Gravelord curved greatsword and stuff, and I've used that for a while with my first sort of PvE character, and that's good, but it does require a little bit extra stat investment. You get more damage, but it does require more stat investment. So you could probably get better returns out of a different weapon, but 255 or whatever it is at the moment, that's plenty good. And like I said, with the Hornet Ring, you could almost one-shot motherfuckers with this thing. It's great. I mean, if you've invested in invested in your health as soon as you right out of the gate, then yeah, you probably won't one shot. But most people, yeah, they'll fucking do that. Right. So I tested out using unupgraded and upgraded armor, and it does make a great deal of difference upgrading your armor. I mean, that's the only twinky part of this character, I guess, is the upgraded armor. Using chunks and stuff to be able to upgrade to max is, it's a luxury that most people aren't going to be having at this point. Bear in mind that you can get people to drop you Titanite. That is not out of the question at this point in the game. So, anyone potentially with a friend with lots of Titanite can be able to drop any host. Loads of chunks and stuff, and you can fully upgrade your armor right out of the gate. So. As long as you've got an armor smith box, you can get full upgraded armor, which is pretty good. So in situations like these, when you're up against multiple people, being able to be tanky as fuck is so advantageous, given that people are fishing for your back constantly, and you're constantly putting in back. People trying to put you in backstab chains, and look at that fucking pitiful damage. It's great. So that's a great big boon. It's honestly, it doesn't make you immortal. Like, I got killed a bunch when I first started playing with this build, even with the upgraded armor. It's like if you play like a moron, or you get overwhelmed and you get stuck, then that's it. You know, numbers is one of this build's weaknesses. You know, if they just fucking sit there and spam on you, all three of them, then you get no, you know, your poise and your damage absorption is going to fucking mean nothing. Yeah, so Wolf Ring and Hornet Ring are my go-to rings. I'm usually wearing the Wolf Ring just for extra poise. You see, this guy's got an Ultra Greatsword, so I can't swing through that, but I can swing through absolutely everything else. So if I can min-max a little bit more, I'll be able to break through that thing. I'm still waiting for the first post on Reddit complaining about passive poise. We would have come full circle at that. Everyone was complaining about Dark Souls 3's, you know, hyper armor linked poise. And then we go back to this, and it's gonna be like, right, poise. I can poise backstab you to fucking buggery now, and I can poise chug in your face. Oh no, the fucking hyper armor poise was so much better in Dark Souls 3. Yeah. Oh, see, I get put in the blender there, and it was only by pure dumb luck and the fact that I have passive poise. I'm able to do a poise. I'm able to poise chug through that, and I'm able to survive. Absolutely bonkers. Get those good old turn and burns are fucking slow in this. It's ridiculous. So, turtling, as I'm sure all of you guys who have gone out there and PvP'd is, I'm not going to say OP, but it's a good strategy. And this, again, this comes to another one of this build's weaknesses, is turtles and passive players. So if they're not falling for the easy backstab baits, if they're not, you know, if they're backing up with their shield up, that is the best way to avoid all the really cheap seal. Oh, it's so good that you can punish people walking through fog doors now. None of that. No, none of that, you little bitch. There's no escaping the boy. There's no escaping the invasions. So watch this one again. It's like, no, oh, this is Dark Souls 3, I can just run through the fog door. Nope. Fuck. You see, that was like, with the Hornet Ring on, that's like pretty much a one-shot. Absolutely bonkers. Anyway, so, oh, I lost my train of thought now. So, oh yeah, sorry, turtles, yeah. So the turtles and passive play is a big weak point of this build, and I found. Yeah, because it's a great sword, so it's not very good at applying pressure. Just like in Dark Souls 3, it's a very defensive weapon. It's got good high damage, and stacked with poise, it can be a very formidable weapon if people are advancing towards you. But when it comes to putting on pressure, it's pretty piss poor. And a lot of the 1v1 defeats I had were against people who would turtle and play passively and wait for my whiff, and they would just go into playing the spacing and passive play game, which is honestly sort of the bread and butter of most of the Souls games. I mean, going for the backstabs and fishes and stuff is good, but when you're 1v1ing someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, can avoid all the easy the backstab fishes, then anyone with a clue and able to play passively turtle will absolutely turn this build into mincemeat. Especially if there's another point, another weakness. Other players with high damaging weapons. There are a bunch of them available quite early game, like the Drake Sword, although it's not as strong as this one, it's 200 AR unupgraded, so if you get a bunch of phantoms swinging on you with Drake Swords and stuff, you want to get out of that pretty fucking quickly. And two-handed Drake Swords will do much more poise damage than the one-handed versions. So it's interesting, sort of like the two-handed movesets for a lot of the weapons are a lot more beneficial than they were in Dark Souls 3, both damage-wise and the poise damage they do. So you got to be careful for people using high-damaging weapons like the Gravelord Greatsword. You'll see a lot. You'll see this Zweihänder still does a significant amount of damage, even with my fully upgraded armor. So yeah, you got to be wary of that and sort of take note of any special weapons they got. Black Knight Greatsword as well is another one you need to keep an eye on. That's another very good PvP weapon early game. So it's been a bit of a learning curve PvPing in Dark Souls 1. It's a learning curve I've really been enjoying. I've really been enjoying. But I played a bunch with Pathfinder, who's a lot more experienced and a lot more talented in this game than I am. We had a bunch of duels, and he was trying to teach me some tech and things that I need to work on with regards to PvPing in this game. And one of the things I'm trying to break myself of is the Roll Souls 3 mentality, where rolling is nowhere near as important in this game as it was in 3. Rolling in 3 was the main way people would evade damage. However, in this game, panic rolling is pretty, especially 1v1, is pretty much a death sentence, because it just means all the invader will have to do is walk behind you while you're rolling and backstab, chain the shit out of you. So I'm trying to get out of that mentality. Rolling still has its place. You still need to dodge attacks. If you know that you've got a safe escape route and enough room to work with, rolling can still be useful, but mostly you'll be relying on poise and spacing and walking backwards with your guard up in order to evade people. And that's been a difficult mentality to try and break myself of. And as such, I mean, I watched Saint Wright's latest video, his Chaos Servant one. That was really, really good. That inspired me a lot as well, because I was so obsessed with trying to have the fast roll and thinking, no, what's the point in being an invader if you can't? It's like fat rolling in 3. Why would you ever fat roll? You just inhibiting your ability to PvP. But in this game, because you're not relying on the roll so much as you are in 3, mid-rolling is not a death sentence. So I sacrificed my ability to fast roll to stack more poise, and honestly, the poise stacking would be more advantageous than it would be if I was fast rolling. So that is something to be aware of. Don't be afraid to mid-roll. Fat roll, yeah, you probably should avoid that. But mid-roll, that's perfectly fine. And from what I understand, there's actually more tiers of mid-rolling in this game than there are in any other one. So there's different hyper armor frames depending on your equip burden. So there's 2 fast rolls. There's the 0% fast roll, and then there's everything else below 25%. And then there's, I think, 3 tiers of mid-roll before you get into fat roll and slow walk. Disconnect. I haven't got any hate mail. I've been fishing for hate mail a little bit. I'm not too ashamed to say, but I haven't had any yet. I've had a bunch of disconnectors, unfortunately. That was my favourite one, but no hate mail yet, as of yet. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that if I keep twinking, and if I keep twinking hard, maybe I'll get some hate mail. Right, so what else was I going to talk? What else I want to talk? Got a little piece of paper here with things I want to talk about with this build. Mid-roll, yeah. So I'm saying that's a weakness. It's not. If you could have both, but in all honesty, mid-roll is more advantageous. Poise is more advantageous than mid-roll. Look at that. Look at them gank, boy. Well, to be honest, I haven't found any dedicated gank squads yet. I found a lot of co-opers, a fuck ton of co-opers, but never any dedicated camp at the bonfire ganks, which has been nice, really. And I fought a lot of solo hosts, so I'm quite glad that it hasn't really, the Red Eye Orb doesn't prioritise the multi-phantom worlds. I don't know, actually. It's sort of, I get more enjoyment now fighting these multi-man invasions than I do, because this build is fucking. People who don't know what they're doing, you will bulldoze them with this build. The high damage and the fact that you take no fucking damage. If the guy's using like a longsword and he's fat rolling, like, you will bulldoze solo hosts in this. So if you get any whiff of twinking whenever you play, do not use this build, because you will feel guilty as fuck. But against multi-man groups like this, really fun. So yeah, okay. So slow weapon. Greatsword is a slow weapon. It is. So, and like I said, turtling and passive play are the enemy of this build. Fortunately, because of the large player pool at this moment, everyone is super aggressive, and they're super confident about getting rid of the invader, because they're very much used to the Dark Souls 3 mentality of just rush the invader, gank the shit out of him, stunlock him to fuck. Because of the passive poise system, you can run straight headfirst into the gank, and if you know what you're doing, backstab the shit out of them. Because they were so aggressive, and they thought that there was 3 of them, and that they'd be able to stunlock me. You're able to take advantage of that. You do your turn and burns as you would, but you won't get knocked out of them because you're passive poised. Great.
Not good at applying pressure. Yeah, I've already mentioned that. Turtles, low stamina. That comes with being a twink, really. Unfortunately, I mean, I've got Ring of Favour that I could put on. I kicked Lautrec off a cliff. I was like, fuck, I'm going to Lautrec request. Fuck that. But yeah, I didn't bother with FAP, to be honest. I thought that having Havels in the Wolf Ring would be a lot better. From what I understand and what I've been told, FAP works on a percentage-based system. So the lower you're built, the lower soul level you are, and the less investment you've got in those stats, the less worth it FAP is. And you know, you're going to need Havels as well to make this build work, so you can stack on the armor to stack on poise. This was a nice little encounter. Sort of, I saw that the Phantom was up there. I've been really avoiding gestures like the plague now, and I'm so glad now that the gesture meta has been nerfed. Because if you gesture, that's basically a free backstab for whoever's in front of you. So I'm glad the gesture meta has been kicked to the curb. But in this instance, you saw me, I swung my camera around as soon as I did the gesture, just to make sure no one was creeping up behind me. But yeah, see, he's locked in a gesture for a firebomb at him. I'll tell you what, I found that consumables aren't nearly... Wow. I don't know in what situation they might be, but consumables aren't as useful as they are in 3, at least in my experience, because of the way turtling is very, very powerful, and you do like negligible damage through a shield. It's almost pointless, really. I mean, I want to see the first Barker Bombay with in Dark Souls 1. That would be fun to see. So I've been mostly just relying on hitting them with the weapon rather than, you know, stacking up on consumables to use. Even like I should be using Undead Hunter Charms. That would be good. But because Estus is so easy to fucking punish in this game, why bother, really? When you can just chug, you can just run up behind them and stab them whilst they're chugging. So like I said, numbers are, you know, as with any build and any time you're playing in Dark Souls, you know, the more people there are, the less you're able to do about it, and that's another weakness of this build, and you know, being stun locked. But that's like a weakness of any build you're running. And sort of the last point, look at that, fucking nice. The last point I wanted to make was the Greatsword is very, very non-versatile. Like, it's very, like, the R2 is because I can't use it one-handed. I don't have access to that moveset. All I'm stuck with is the two-handed moveset. So I've got the up and down swings and the horizontal sweep of the R2, which can be used as a roll catch depending on what the speed of the roll is that the player is using. You can sometimes roll catch them with the R2, which is nice, but very often it's just it uses almost half. It does use over half your stamina bar on one R2, so it is almost never worth it. So you're stuck with the R1 up and down, and if someone knows how to dodge it, is able to space it, then you know, you're fucked basically. Even someone who does minimal damage to you will be able to space you out and just gradually chip you down. So this invasion was sort of showcases some of the weaknesses, the two weaknesses of this build. The inability to poise through the Ultra Great, which is could be remediable if you want to min-max the fuck out of this build with the different armor sets, which I don't have at this point, and the passive play that this player was using in order to sort of avoid my backstabs. See, I was trying to go for some roll backstabs here, and I'm guessing because I'm mid-rolling and I've got really high recovery frames on there, he's able to, or he or she is able to fucking get the fuck out of the way before I'm able to recover and do the backstab animation, which is unfortunate. And he's only applying pressure when he sees that I'm otherwise, you know, engaged in an animation. Otherwise, he's constantly backing up so as to avoid my backstab attempts, which is, you know, this clever play. From what I understand of PvP, you know, that's what you want to. If you want to avoid people backstabbing you, backing up constantly. Goes for a cheeky little poke there. Very good. And it's quite frustrating. Like, sort of, I've been quite used to. Like, a lot of people are very spam happy and stuff. See there, the little we had a little standoff there. I ran towards him, and I've been working on my little pivots, backstabs. So much easier in 1 than it is in 3. But yeah, you run up towards him, quickly press down your analog stick and press L1 at the same time. You do a pivot backstab on him almost instantly. It's glorious, absolutely glorious. So yeah, that's one thing to be wary of, is the passive players. You could probably put some additional weapons onto this build to be able to deal with these kinds of people. Like I said, I was originally intending to use the halberd for this build, so you've got enough stats to wield a halberd one-handed, so you could go for a +5 halberd. I believe that, from my understanding of the weapon matchmaking system, the Crystal Greatsword and the Crystal Greatsword count as a unique weapon, and so they count as a +5 normal weapon. And +5 normal weapons allow you to match up to +0 weapons, which is nice. And I mean, I don't know if that's 100% true or not. I don't know if that's been 100% confirmed, but from what the video that Goof did and the posts I've seen on Reddit, that seems to be the case. And I didn't have any problems connecting with people in the Berg who obviously had either unupgraded weapons or very low upgraded weapons, so that's perfectly fine. So like, if you're going, the things you want to avoid if you want to do a twin character, avoid picking up infused weapons. So the weapons like the lightning spear that you get in Sen's Fortress or the crystal halberd that you get in Anor Londo, do not pick those up because they count as a +10 weapon, and that will lock you out of all the invasions in the Berg and in the parish, unless the other people have a +5 weapon. I think that's how it works. God, we're gonna have to have I'm gonna have to have a serious sit down with the wiki once it's all been sorted out and have a look at all the weapon matchmaking things. But yeah, having an unupgraded Crystal Greatsword allows you to, or a +5 regular weapon will allow you to match with everyone at low levels, which is really nice. Okay guys, so thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a nice little twink showcase. I'm sorry if I've upset you with my twinking, but it's fun as fucking hell, and I encourage you all to give it a go. So thank you very much, and I'll see you later.